Welcome back to your weekly roundup of everything that happened in Zenless Zone Zero, where we will cover everything that you missed inside and outside of the game. How was everybody's pulls for Nangong Yu? Did you manage to complete the trio of the Angels of Delusion? How much damage did it do to your polychrome count? In the meantime though, while you answer that in the comments below, my pulls will be in the background. But otherwise though, starting off with in-game news, as a friendly reminder, it is almost the end of the month, and so with April fast approaching, that means that the monthly shops will be reset. So if you haven't already, be sure to buy out anything you need from the monthly shops over at Scott Logistics Outpost, as well as the discounted pulls in the Signal shop. Otherwise though, on Friday will be the start of the new event, Special Disorder Control Squad, where Miyabi will entrust us to defeat waves of enemies in the new game mode that features 3 teams of 2. Nice change of pace from the regular 3 teams of 3, or 2 teams depending on what you're doing. But from the event though, we can of course expect a bunch of polychrome rewards, as well as some titles if you score enough points in this new mode. Also on Friday will be the regularly scheduled Shiyu defense reset. This time around the buffs will be as follows. For the first stage, agent physical damage as well as electrical damage will be increased by 20%, and their crit damage will also increase by 30% too. And when an attack agent specifically lands a critical hit on an enemy, that enemy's defense will be reduced by 10% for 5 seconds. Stage 2, agent ether damage will be increased by 20%, and after an enemy is stunned, they will recover from that stun 20% slower, and also they will take 20% more attribute anomaly damage. In other words, this is where you use Nangong Yu. And then for stage 3, all agents' ice damage will be increased by 20%, and all basic attack damage will be increased by 40% as well. And after an agent uses an EX special attack, the agent's ice damage will also increase by a further 20%. In other words, the Miyabi stage. Another game to sink your teeth into is the supporter of this week's video. Another mobile game that is celebrating its 7-year anniversary, and that is none other than Raid Shadow Legends. There's never been a better time to start playing Raid because they've gone all out when it comes to rewarding new players for the 7th anniversary. If you're like me and are a big fan of PvE strategy games, then Raid is going to be right up your alley because you will have a vast amount of amazingly designed characters to choose from as you craft the perfect team to take on different and exciting battles. I really enjoy some of the combat depth that you have in terms of who you select and how you use them, and of course the gearing as well. And for a limited time, after downloading the game using my link in the description below or scanning my QR code, any new players can get an exclusive reward package that's worth $200, rewarding you instantly with Krokmar the Devourer and giving more rewards as you level up, like Galapo the Recluse. And on top of that, by using the code SUPERVICTORY, you can also get the legendary champion Pelops the Victor too. Not only is it the anniversary though, but currently there's also a collaboration with Assassin's Creed in the Ezio Chase event, where you can get Ezio himself for free, while also being able to obtain other assassins like Edward Kenway, Bayek, Basim, and Cassandra, the first champion from the all-new faction, the Argonauts. Use these new champions to take on the event dungeon and its antagonist, Pontiff Augustine, to earn some time-limited gear. New players can also pick from 6 promo codes to obtain their favorite champion for free from the selection of Green Warden Ruok, Alice the Wanderer, Cheshire Cat, Tuanarak, Sun Wukong, or Ultimate Death Knight. Now is a great time to experience the brilliant in-depth combat provided by Raid's PvE modes against some exhilarating bosses with some great champions of your own. As a reminder, use my QR code or link in the description to start playing Raid today and get tons of rewards. Moving on to social media news though, we have some new freebies in the form of some stickers for the 2.7 agents, Nangong Yu and Sisia. These are all free to download using the link in the description below. And speaking of Nangong Yu, her EP was recently released, and to go alongside that release, there is a Twitter event where if you follow the official Zenless Zone Zero account and you retweet the linked post in the description below, then by doing so you stand a chance to win a long bamboo plush pillow. Another event is the Please Lady Nangong event, where again, following the official account and tapping on the picture in the tweet linked below will give you a chance to win a Bangboop party figure. And then of course, if you aren't aware of it yet, the drip marketing for patch 2.8 has dropped, and that is probably the most important thing that has come out of the social media team in the past week. Because firstly to be revealed was Promea, the Ice Anomaly agent from the Campus Compliance agent. But an hour after that was the reveal of the S-rank Starlight Billy, being shown as a physical Rupture agent. Now, because of the order that the drip marketing was revealed, even though it was all on the same day, with Promea being revealed even an hour earlier, that would imply that she is going to be the first banner of patch 2.8, with Starlight Billy being the second banner. It would also fit the trend of the male S-rank agent always getting the second half of the banner. So once again, kind of having flashbacks to that whole Vivian and Hugo banner just before 2.0 started. Now, I'm not saying that this could mean that Billy might end up getting overshadowed or outshined, by whoever will be revealed in 3.0, but there is such a thing as pattern recognition. However, with how much everyone has been wanting an S-rank Billy though, especially after seeing Soldier Anby, I'm sure even if there is some fancy Void Hunter or something like that in patch 3.0, plenty of people will still be excited to pull for Billy. And funnily enough though, I'd like to point out, this reveal almost lines up to be nearly a full year after that one Starlight Night April Fool's teaser song last year, which made everyone think that that was when Starlight Billy would appear. Coming back to the thought of him getting outshined in patch 3.0 though, the two new girls, Norma and Velina, from the Marcel group, appear to be the leading frontrunners when it comes to who we can expect to see in patch 3.0. And as far as we can tell, these two are not Void Hunters. Maybe Season 2 and specifically patch 2.0 was just an anomaly, get it, an anomaly, in the sense of having another Void Hunter tier agent and releasing them right at the start of the season, as opposed to teasing them throughout the season for a big reveal, the same way Miyabi and Ye Wang were handled. Maybe Yishan was just there to sort of drum up the extra hype for the new patch and the new Chinese-inspired region. But moving further onto the speculation zone though, you might remember last week we mentioned talk about the new wind element. Well, we now also have some details about the effects that you can get when you apply the wind anomaly. And it really is just kind of like the Genshin Anemo swirl effect of interacting with other anomalies and having special effects depending on which anomaly it interacts with. Firstly though, building up the wind element triggers both the weathered and the erosion effect, where weathered is the first initial burst of damage, so similar to any anomaly, it's just some damage for doing the anomaly. But erosion, however, will make any further wind damage deal bonus damage as an extra multiplier. Although this erosion effect can be infused with another element to have that new element also receive the bonus damage effect too. Think of it as sort of making the enemy vulnerable to wind or any other element that you expose them to. However, as for a pseudo disorder effect though, when applying the wind anomaly to an enemy that is already under another anomaly, or vice versa, then you will get the catalyze effect to trigger. This will deal AoE damage as well as creating another infusion effect. Again, that is making them more vulnerable to that new anomaly type, or element rather. The catalyzed damage is dependent on which non-wind element is being triggered, as well as how much time was left on that anomaly when it is triggered. Of course, with more time leading to more damage, so obviously maximum damage will be when the enemy is already under the wind anomaly and then you trigger catalyze by applying the new non-wind element. It is funny though to see that, understandably, different anomalies will have different levels of catalyzed multipliers because again, each anomaly has their own different damage and duration. But the one thing that stands out a lot is that Frost, so specifically Miyabi, has a 0% base multiplier, which is really funny because basically they're saying that they do not want Miyabi to have anything to do with wind. But depending on how big this wind element is and how many agents we get to see from it, who knows, maybe the Void Hunter is going to be revolving around wind, or maybe a lot of new characters will be wind element as well. It does seem like we are going back to an anomaly focused game, but with a little bit of a twist now, since again, it's not just an anomaly to do the damage from the disorders, or not really disorders but catalyzers, but now also the anomaly and the catalyze effect increases damage from that new element. So maybe they're trying to like mix the anomaly and having reactions to help facilitate and emphasize just regular attackers or rupture agents as well. It is an interesting take. But yeah, I do like the thought of the new element and having interactions with it and the infusing of a new element to make enemies more vulnerable to said element. But what are your thoughts on the new wind mechanics though? Let me know down in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then liking, commenting and subscribing is greatly appreciated. So until next time, bye bye.